Good morning, Scott here, known as Cantaloupe to some online, and I'm bringing a subject to you that's interesting to me. It might be of interest to you or someone you know about, and that is patriotism in general, especially American patriotism. And I want to cover a couple of things that I think people could understand about me a little bit better personally. I am sometimes questioned, not necessarily directly, but sometimes indirectly about my feelings about America and the government or whatever. And I don't think that there's some kind of big interest in it, but to clarify, just to, state it in no uncertain terms, my position on all that, I want to go on record and say that America has some very good gems at its foundation. America has some great guiding principles and the spirit of freedom and God-given rights to pursue happiness and independence, unity, and being independent. There's a lot of really good stuff at the heart of it. And I think that most people are in agreement about this. I really do. There's a point where when enough members of the administration of a country, any country, become unlike the spirit of that country as represented by its documents and its founding people and the people that make up the country itself, when those administrators become different enough from that spirit, it can be said that the country itself has departed from its own spirit. And it really depends on your definition, right? Your definition of what the country is. What does the flag symbolize? And I don't want to get into some deep dive, sprawling, hour-long video, but I do want to explain what I think it means. I think that patriotism is a double-edged sword. I think that, like pride, it can help you and it can also harm you. I think that depending on exactly what you're talking about, patriotism is a good thing or also a catastrophic thing. Consider the famous quote, and I don't know off the top of my head who said it, but dissent is the highest form of patriotism. Maybe you've heard that one. What does that mean? I want to take that apart real quick. Dissent is the highest form of patriotism. What is dissent? It is going against the establishment. It is taking down officials and possibly even revolting. That's what dissent is. And the person that said this was a founding father of the United States, one of the people who penned the early documents and helped build this country into what it is. So what did they mean by that? What did they mean by dissent is the highest form of patriotism? It means that they recognized when they started this country all of the opportunities that they had fled from, most of them in England, the problems with corruption and false accusations, abuse of power, the meddling of the government into religious affairs, all of the many, many things that we now know as historical facts. They understood the hazards of those things resurfacing. They understood that without careful protection and provision, those things would come back. So they did their best, God bless them, to create documentation for guidance, to establish laws and rules to protect the people from those things, mainly from the government itself. And that's what it means. Dissent is the highest form of patriotism, which means when you see these things, you are obligated as a law-abiding, God-loving citizen to fight them because they do come up. You don't just think that they don't. You don't just assume that they don't. That's what got them into trouble to begin with. So maybe that's more than you want. Maybe you didn't want anything. But I am a patriot. I'm a patriot first to the idea of freedom and love of liberty, love of, my homeland, whatever you want to call it. But you maybe have also heard the expression, I love my country, but I fear my government. So it begs the question of what exactly are we talking about with that flag? What is your question specifically? Because my answer might be different each time. So let's get back on track. Let's figure out what's important and why it's important and how we can fix it. And until then, there's not a lot to talk about because right now it's not working. I think that that's pretty clear. Maybe it's working for you, but you can't be delusional enough to think that it's working for everybody. Nobody thinks that right now. It's not working for me, honestly. I'm doing all right, but a lot of people aren't, especially in other countries. But that's a departure to another subject. So I hope everybody has a great day. Reach out with questions or comments to whitehotrobot@gmail.com. Thank you.